Gentlemen, it's a new day. What do we think of the episode?
Which? Both?
Exactly. See, we have a lot to do today. And I just want to say that I'm grateful to everybody who's been listening to us up until this point. This show is very intense. This show is very, emotionally heavy, but it handles drama well. And I think there should be a warning label maybe on things involving Craig Mazin because there's just tension. Like, this is actually kind of reminding me of when I watched Chernobyl. But at the very least, there was musical respite in this episode, and I'm very grateful to see that the best investment my family ever made was one of these. This thing is clearly the best made thing in the universe, because tell me how that guitar was able to survive that long in an apocalypse with overgrowth everywhere in that store. I mean, sure, it's a Martin and those things go for like $4,000, but still.
Crazy.
I mean,
in a case like this,
Crazy.
is there maybe
stocking
a
up on them.
point? Is there maybe a point that, nobody wanted it, so nobody rates it?
Impossible. I think they were just too busy trying to escape clickers.
Yep.
But now I know that this thing will be fine forever.
Come on, Ibube, sing us it. Give us a tune.
Give us a number.
Give us a tune. Give us a tune. Come on.
Give us a tune. What do you guys think this is? Nobody's here for that.
Oh my goodness.
Anyway, you guys ready?
Yes, sir.
Hello, and freeze all motor functions. My name is Ibube, and you are listening to Popcorn for Dinner. Today, the narrative devices are in overdrive on The Last of Us, and we get what every post-apocalyptic epic needs, a villain origin story. And as we all know, every worthwhile villain is the hero of the story. So joining me today to parse it all are two of my personal heroes, Chinedu and Emmanuel, who they can finally take a break, give that one horse they've been riding across the country a break as well, because we don't do animal abuse on this podcast. How you guys doing?
Just a human.
Is that so?
Gosh.
Okay.
Gosh.
Shit, they are lawsuit allegations.
Gosh.
It's good to be here, man. It's good to be back. Always excited to pod with you guys. And I think especially 4 had a lot of packed stuff. 3 was good as well. It was a nice setup for what we're about to talk about. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think same for me. Just excited. I think it's nice we're getting to even talk about 2 episodes. I'm in a very Last of Us mood because I went for the PlayStation concert on Sunday, and The Last of Us got the biggest ovation for the performances and stuff. So I was really in that mood. And yeah, the 2 episodes, like Shane said, to be honest, they kind of go almost like a 2-parter. So I really kind of enjoyed watching them. And even though, watching the first one of those had its own sort of, I guess, personal cuts as well. But really powerful and strong television that I want to get into.
Yeah, honestly, I think it makes sense to see it as 2 halves of one giant episode. And I believe Craig Mazin wrote both, so maybe that's even how he saw it in his head. But I think the episodes do a good job of starting the kind of new day for the show, right? It's almost as though, the first 2 episodes were kind of a prologue of sorts. I mean, as we discussed, the content of episode 1 is basically all the flashback in the game, right? Mm-hmm. So this is where the story truly begins, and we learn a lot of interesting things. Of course, episode 4 was the more packed one in terms of action, in terms of story movement. But I think episode 3 did a lot of interesting things. It kind of grounds us in the world again.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess thinking about episode 3, how did you guys feel about Ellie's recovery? I mean, do you think she's actually recovered? did you think she was recovered before she started talking about, vengeance and trying to give speeches about going to, I guess, avenge Joel for the good of society? I don't think she believed a word of what she said, but yeah.
I think even everyone thought that, okay, she's lying or something. But I think when I look at Ellie, this is someone who, like, this is an extreme case of survivor's guilt she probably has, right? She's the only person that's immune. Everyone that's close to her, she's lost, right?
Yeah. She said it herself. Everyone she's ever been close to has either left or died.
Yeah. So we saw what happened with her mother. We saw what happened with Riley. We saw what happened with Joel. Joel and Riley probably worse because she was actually there for them. Like, she saw them pass, and those are probably like the two biggest relationships in her life, at least to this point. So like, she's not going to be okay, and then she's recovering physically for 3 months, so can't do anything, can't really do much.
I told you if I catch that guy that kicked her in the ribs. Anyway, it's okay.
To be honest, like, that was Danny, right? It's funny because it's funny because I know there was this argument online and stuff about Danny because so he does that in the game, but he also spits on Joel's dead body, and they took that out in the TV show. And people are like, so people are kind of struggling, like, okay, are they making him more likable or what's going on here? And then
because
there's a group that's like,
bro, if I catch him, it doesn't make a difference.
Because I'm like, to be honest, I'm like, I don't think it's spitting on the corpse that is where you draw the line, in my opinion.
Like, what are we talking about?
So when I saw the argument, I'm like, okay, this is a bit crazy, but yeah, like, and maybe because, again, too much video games or whatever, I was like, okay, I didn't expect that would take 3 months for her to like get better from, kind of thing. But maybe because seeing Joel and everything, it's just like they just patch it up, keep it moving. But yeah, I thought it was important for us to kind of like check in with her and see all of that. And I think we really kind of get into her psyche a little bit. I think this is probably the reason why the show invented the girl character. Just so there's a way for Ellie to say these things without, or at least experience or like try and bring us into her world without it being too too inorganic, effectively. And I guess also a kind of indirect way as well for her to almost kind of get that information to Tommy, which breaks is psychiatrist privilege or something, patient doctor privilege.
Doctor patient confidentiality.
That's the one, doctor patient confidentiality. So even though she still broke it immediately, but so I quite like that, we're able to kind of get into that psyche and stuff, because in TV shows, like, a death is a moment, but it's only as much as how you sell it, kind of thing. Like, we talk about Game of Thrones a lot, like, Jon Snow died, but that death was kind of sold by, the fact that it was, the Night's Watch and people's reactions to it and stuff. If you just kill off a character and everyone just moves on, it's not going to have an impact on the show. So it's nice for the show to kind of really use the characters, kind of show us that, okay, this is what life without Joel looks like. And, we see that with Ellie, we see that with Tommy. We see that with the whole town as well. So the aftermath really kind of grounded the whole thing. But yeah, I really enjoyed that bit.
Yeah. I think just to like touch on what Ima said as well, I like the episode. I think I'm a big fan of, not fan because this is real life, what I'm about to talk about, but I like seeing adopted parents relationship, because I feel like it's one of the highest forms of love you can get in terms
family.
of in terms of humanity. Because exactly like you said, you chose them. A lot of us, we're taught from young, socialized from young to always want your own biological kids. But to have this person that you saw, even from Joe's perspective at 14, and he took her as one of his own, He even saw like Dina. I don't know, Dina's probably 19, 18 as well now, and took her still as one of his own. I think it's a perfect epitome of the kind of love that humanity can possess. So I liked a couple of scenes in this episode. I really liked the scene when Ellie returned home, and you could tell from the directing, the way it was directed, the way it was shot, the silence in the house was alarming. It was shouting out to you. You could tell this person was missing. I love that.
Especially since we haven't seen her in this house before this moment. She spent all her time living in the garage.
Exactly. So, that like, literally touches on what Emma said, a death is only as good as what the show makes it out to be. And this, you feel Ellie's pain. And I love the scene as well with Dina across the table, because it's his two adopted daughters, really missing this guy. And yeah, it was a very good episode. Not for nice purposes, but I think it was very well done.
I agree. The slogan for this season actually is "Every path has a price," and Tommy actually says that he doesn't want Ellie to go on the same paths that Joel did. And in a big way, this season is about choices and consequences. But what I found very striking in the episode was the fact that there is so much similarity between them. Essentially, it's like Ellie has become Joel visually. Like, there are all these visual cues, It's like, in order to avenge Joel and get justice, as she calls it, she's wearing his gun, right? She's standing the way he does, walking the way he does, even talking the way he does, in a sense, all these things are very well chosen. And, one thing that also strikes me as very interesting is, let me just say, I am now very sure that she found out what Joel did. I'm quite sure she knows. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like she, at some point, actually found out what Joel did, and that was part of what maybe created this rift between them. It's not like, oh, like, what did you do? Like, I know you're hiding something from me, which so far that's what we've thought, right? And it could very well still be that. But I think on some level is, I do know what you did and I kind of hate you for it. Leave me alone. But that love is still there. You can see the sadness and the deep grief, right? And, honestly, shout out to Dina for knowing when to hold back information.
Yeah, 100%.
Because I think a lot of trouble was saved by Dina in doing so. Though I have maybe one or two qualms with Dina and her soft manipulation. But I feel like there are some people in this episode who make a lot of interesting stands for, I guess, Ellie and, what Joel stood for. And some of it came from the most unlikely places, as we saw, right? Seth, for example. He definitely would have joined them. And I know there are people who are tired of seeing this character. We don't need this character. But clearly they had use for him. I mean, you don't just, in a show like this, you don't introduce a guy like that and then nothing happens. Like, this is the fact that they kept him in the game, from the game, so, like, basically word for word. It just, it works quite well. And, you can get a lot out of that in terms of character moments. And you can see something in Ellie, right? When Ellie sees that, Seth is the one standing up for her and saying what she's actually really thinking in her mind, it's just one of those moments, right? When, like, you believe something, but the people agreeing with you are your ops. So now it makes you look it makes you look within. Because now you're like, wait, what does that say about me? Why, like it's like one of those moments, like, you are we the Nazis. Like, why? She's keeping quiet. She's just there like, okay.
Yeah. Those scenes are always, like, funny. I always think of, like, the Anthony Mackie one from Falcon and Winter Soldier, where it's like, he's out of line, but he's right. Like, that's literally what I think of. Because she's probably like, like, imagine you're hearing those things and you're like, you're hearing the voice, you're like, that can't be who I think it is.
I know that ain't who I think it is.
It can't, nah. Don't tell me I have to forgive this guy. But
Yeah, no, literally, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Nah,
Because,
come on, man.
I feel like the
Oh,
audience
good.
is also not sure whether they want to forgive him. And I actually love that handshake moment. It's like at the end of everything, when they get to the gates, he's giving them everything, giving her a better gun. They traded everything, and you can actually, like I said, tell that if he was able-bodied, he would join them.
Yeah.
Like, that says a lot. And, he puts up his hand for that handshake, and she looks at it for a moment, and she's just like, nah, I have to shake this guy. Like, how do I not shake this guy? So it's like a quiet truce of sorts.
Yeah. To be honest, that's a nice arc for Seth. Like, in the game, you don't see Seth after he gives them the sandwiches. Like, unless there's something I'm forgetting, but you don't see him till after that.
So in the game, how did they get out?
This whole thing is very different in the game.
Okay.
I can't really get into it without like spoiling stuff.
Oh, I see. Okay. I guess we'll find out soon enough.
But it's pretty different. Obviously, when the show covers everything, I can tell you what happens. But so this is different. So it's nice for them to give Seth that moment. One thing though, like, I don't know what you guys think. Do you think Seth truly believed that, or was it like, this is my chance at redemption?
Or
Like,
I'll
to
give
make
you
things good.
I'll give you a third option. He's a military guy that loves any piece of action he can get. So,
So he's nuts. That's what you say.
Perhaps, but I do think, even if what Chinedu is saying is true, I do think he meant every word.
Oh yeah,
Because
yeah. I think it's a combination
there's
of
something
that,
to
the
be
third
said
one
for
and meaning it.
Yeah, this idea of they came into our home, they took one of ours, and that if they know that that's something that's possible, they will come back. Now, of course, we know, especially from watching episode 4, that the wolves are very busy doing other things. They don't really have concern for this. But I will say that I'm curious to know if they actually got the go-ahead from Isaac to come to Jackson to get Joel, or if they also snuck out the way Ellie and Dina are sneaking out, and the look on Ima's face is telling me that one day I'll find out.
That will be revealed. But it's good you mentioned Isaac, right? Because, like, I don't know, this would probably mean like skipping into 4 a little bit, but yeah, I was so happy to see Isaac. I was like, okay, it was good. And it's also nice that Jeffrey Wright plays him in the game.
It's so, you just gotta love Jeffrey Wright in a dystopian future.
So he plays
fantastic.
him. He plays him in the game, like motion capture, voice, everything. So
amazing.
for them to get him back,
I thought they just wanted Bernard from Westworld.
Nah. Although in the game they gave him hair, but that was the only thing.
Okay.
So I was like, when they cast him, I was like, oh god, they're going to do the exact thing. I was like, please don't give him like some ridiculous wig or something. Like, let him just be Jeffrey Wright. And then obviously you cast Jeffrey Wright, so you kind of beef up the role a little bit more, like that. We got a bit of backstory and stuff like that. Like seeing Isaac is great, and like everything you're talking about, because we spent a lot of time like seeing Jackson and Jackson's politics.
Yeah,
I'm hoping or expecting that we're gonna see the WLF side of things.
100%.
Of like their own hierarchy, how they do things, and from episode 3, we get to see the Scars and the Seraphites and stuff. And one of the beautiful things of The Last of Us is that there is still human conflict, even after the apocalypse. And in the game, it's always fun because it's stressful sometimes. You're like, okay, I'm dealing with a clicker, I need to be quiet. And, and I was like, in a way, the infected are kind of dumb, right? You can sneak through, you can do whatever. And then you go to the next thing, and then it's like, oh, it's human beings and they're fighting and it's this and it's that. So you get so many different like enemies and stuff.
Yeah.
So seeing that in the show as well is nice because it gives you that switch up in drama.
I think they balance it quite well though. Like because both threats have their place.
Exactly.
And it's essentially like they pose different ways for the characters to kind of become who they are. Like it's a far cry from, let's defeat the greatest force in the universe that has been prophesied to destroy the world with cold and ice for 8,000 years. But now we have to go and talk to Cersei. You know,
Yep.
it's essentially like, well, I feel like this is a better version of that in a sense.
Yeah.
Though I will say that Dina and Ellie's plan is complete madness. Like, it's literally given, let's go beyond the wall to get a white to show the people in the south from under the Night King. But, you know.
What I would say is thank God Dina went with Ellie, though, because I feel like...
Because she would have died yesterday.
100%.
Or last week.
I feel like Dina brings, you know, that kind of reason to, like, the both of them. Obviously Ellie is the more aggressive one and the more, you know, like in your face, and I think Dina's a bit more tactical. So I think it brings a good balance because she would have been so lost if she went by herself.
Speaking of Dina and Ellie, right? Because they're a big part of the 2 episodes and stuff. I couldn't shake the feeling in episode 3 when they have that scene. Like, how late is too late to be reviewing a kiss, please? It's been 3 months. Somebody has gone through a broken rib. Their dad has died. And they're like, oh, can you rate that kiss from like 3 months ago? Like, how late is too late?
But you see, I guess we might as well just get into this notion I have that Dina is a role model for only the worst kinds of people. Because I feel like Dina is kind of toxic and manipulative in a sense.
Oh my
because
goodness.
No, let's think about this for a second, right? Dina clearly knows how Ellie feels. Ellie thinks she's being slick, but she's clearly not. Like, it's written all over her face how she feels. Dina is aware of this. And is essentially moving like, you know, all those people that understand how you feel about them, but essentially just milk it for all they can before giving you a chance to do anything about it. Like,
don't make us start a new podcast, please.
If you know, you know.
Well, it's just interesting. that question that's asked, right? You wait until good night, and then what? So you want to leave Ellie with this, and then it's just like, okay, good night. We'll see anything else till morning. Like, you're playing mind games.
Bro.
You know, this is the apocalypse. I understand that humanity is wild. Humanity is insane. Like, the world has fallen apart, and people are still fighting each other instead of the things that are killing humanity. And it turns out that people, in addition to post-apocalyptic bigotry, people also have time for romantic mind games.
Look, what I would say
it's interesting.
If there wasn't
what does she mean by I wasn't that high?
If there wasn't an apocalypse,
like, come on, man.
You know, you need that dopamine from somewhere. Look, like, there are no phones, no
is this
social media.
You don't need
stress.
No. But like, jokes apart, like, I always used to think that I'm like, if it's an apocalypse, I'm sorry, man. Like, I like you. You like me, let's move out. Okay, tomorrow might be our last day.
Where's the fun in that, though? Where's the fun in that?
So you're doing talking stage.
Yes, now, see this guy.
It's talking stage that killed Joe now. Like, look at that. Like, Joe has nothing.
Yo. Oh my God.
Oh my goodness. Look, yeah. I mean, what I would say is they don't have media, they don't have TV, they barely even have books, man. Like, you need to drag the romance as long as you can.
Go and learn guitar.
It's a useful skill. Honestly, though, I feel like, you know, Dina's behavior, and I guess her approach to this relationship carries all the way through. Like, you know, there's this back and forth. Like, Dina talks about in episode 4, for example, being bisexual and having to kind of keep that aspect of her hidden for so long, and trying to make it work with Jesse, and now, like, you know, try to make it work so fervently that now they're expecting a child. Like, this whole time we're just like, wow, Dina is a lot more squeamish than we thought she'd be. But it turns out she's pregnant. So, I mean, that's it's in a sense it's good, but in a sense it's also very scary because, you know, of course babies are always seen as blessings, but this is kind of like an inconvenient time and place for this to be happening,
bro.
I mean, because we can't just say that because the world ended, you know, people shouldn't love each other, people should not like have kids, things like that. Like, I mean, life has to move forward, and we've seen that that's the case. Like,
still
people like
desires.
Dina and Ellie, for example, they were both born after 2003, right? We look at Tommy's son as well that he just had with Maria. Like the world has to move forward. Children like are bringing, what's coming next. So
Yep.
Also,
there
it's
was
probably
always
not that
danger,
easy to
but
find condom, to be honest. So.
Hey God.
probably. Well, I actually did think about that on some level.
But do you know what?
Because
Like,
everything would have been expired and they don't have the facilities to make more. Like I'm
Yep.
surprised those pregnancy tests even still work.
this was what I was gonna say.
But
Like,
it makes sense that they do on some level though, because
so like with the pregnancy,
'Cause of how they're
I had like things where I was like, okay, first of all, I'm very happy they just revealed it because I was dreading. I was like, I'm gonna come here and you guys would be like, oh, why is Dina so squeamish? And I'm just gonna have to play along.
This guy was like, how am I going to pretend?
But it's like, oh my gosh! Suddenly, after how many years of seeing dead bodies, she's vomiting. Oh wow, maybe they're telling us
Yeah.
something.
Oh,
It's like,
God.
I was just like, so when they revealed, I was like, thank the Lord. Like, I don't have to do all of that. Then when she did like 4 pregnancy tests, I'm like, come on, man, these things are already scarce enough. Why are you wasting 4?
Look, she didn't grow up in that era now. She didn't know. You guys are so harsh.
No, but like 4. 4.
Look,
Oh my
for a
God.
fact, you have to be sure.
Wait, during COVID,
you would want to be sure.
how
Like,
many
look at the
tests were you
situation
guys
they're in
doing?
right now.
During COVID, how many tests were you guys doing?
In
Like
one
COVID
go.
tests.
Yeah. To test yourself, were you like just following one?
Yeah, if I feel like I have the
Fair.
symptoms or whatever, I do one now.
Fair,
And
fair.
then maybe, but 4.
Ah,
Come on, man. What's going to change?
Fair.
They now look like different brands, so maybe she's been collecting them as we've been traveling.
Well, she found all of them in that one pharmacy. So that which
Fair.
actually brings up something else in my mind. Is just this idea that even post-apocalypse, Seattle is this is this expensive place in a sense. No, because just help me here, right? I already talked about the music shop and how that guitar case is essentially, like I said, the best investment my family has ever made. I'm going to get like 5 more. But the guitar inside there is very expensive. It's actually
It's untouched.
it's untouched. It looks good, and of course, Ellie somehow has perfect pitch tuning that guitar without a tuner or a piano in sight. I mean, some people are built different.
To be fair, right? That's a scene from the game, so at least it's a hidden thing on the game.
When I heard the tuning, like,
so I was like, okay, good.
Anybody who like the guitarist in me, I was just like, is a lie. There's no way.
I mean, yeah. Obviously, they have to.
I mean, but there are people who can do that, so it is plausible on some level, right? So fine. But then we get to Isaac literally cooking this seraphite, and I do mean literally. and he's talking about using Moviel cookware. Like their 8-piece cookware set goes for like $2,000. Like that. Like there's just Isaac, quiet signals of there was wealth in this area throughout the episode.
Isaac even talking of. I really enjoyed that performance because I'm like so many things unprovoked. Like,
did you do that in the game too? Like that whole speech about like I wanted to cook when I was younger.
No,
because the man is so locked in. Like Jeffrey Wright.
He was literally giving out his riz. It's like, yeah, I was a bit of a shy thing, so I focused on the kitchen. I'm like, okay, like,
which is a good technique.
Like, bro is putting it out there. I'm like, okay, cool, only for you to see what he's actually doing. And I'm like, oh my God. And I'm just like, did the guy have to be naked? I was just like, I understand this.
They clearly see them as animals, and I feel like it's a good show of how people coped in the apocalypse. Mm-hmm. We've already seen David and his cannibalistic people, how he led them to the point where that's what they're doing, and not even all of them are aware that that's what they're doing. They're eating their dead.
True.
Right?
Yeah.
It will only be so long before they start to actually kill live people to do that.
Yep.
Then in this case, they're doing torture. Like, this is war. We heard the Seraphite leader guy tell his daughter in episode 3 that they're escaping war. They don't know where they're going, but they just know that they have to leave. And now we understand that this truly is war. Like, there are antagonistic forces here. It's not just that they were being oppressed. I think if you just watched episode 3, you would think, okay, the wolves are really worse than we thought. Like, they're out here oppressing peaceful people. But it turns
Yeah.
out the Seraphites are not that peaceful.
Mm.
You know, we saw how David's people coped, and now we see that these people, they turn to religion. They have this prophet that they look to. And I happen to know a little bit about the prophet, but let's just say that this is somebody who sets an example for them to live this very secluded life away
Yep.
from everything modern. And that's at least what it looks like, right? You know, they have very primitive style
Archaic stuff,
clothes. They use bows and arrows. They live off the land. You know, they're not looking for any particular comfort. Like they've essentially just gone back to what the world was, in a sense. It's like the original Smiths in Rick and Morty, and what happened after that whole episode with the punch. But that's a whole thing for anybody who's watched Rick and Morty, I guess. But stripping that guy down is a big part of the torture, because it starts in the mind.
Yeah.
When you're trying to break somebody, you start by breaking their spirit. And degrading the person is a huge way to do that. Like, you're treating the person like an animal that's about to be slaughtered. They literally changed his leg, everything. They've already beaten him up like crazy.
Yeah.
Right? You can see all the bruises. You can see that they captured him and they've been trying to get information. And now this man is literally searing him with a frying pan. You know, like, you hear the screams and you can tell that, you know, this is something that is commonplace here. Like, there is a lot of brutality. We've been seeing brutality a lot. And, you know, violence is, for example, what bonded Ellie and Joel. And this world is one where brutality reigns supreme. So it makes sense that violence would be the way that she tries to avenge him. But the people that she's going against also know how to use violence.
Yeah.
And they're pretty good at it.
Yeah.
They thought they were going to see, like, you know, 5 or 6 people, maybe 5 or 6 more, other than the ones that came to Jackson, not realizing that this place is a whole militia. Right? I wonder if there are people in Seattle that are not part of this whole thing. You know, like we see from Isaac's origin story that clearly the WLF overthrew Fedra and they did it from within, right? We see that lady welcome him to the fight. And then, of course, I wasn't sure exactly how it was going to happen, but I have to say, as soon as he called that one guy out, the novice, and he was like, you know, come and learn something. I was like, okay, this is a trap.
That was hilarious. When they were cracking.
Because, again, he just goes in and he uses grenades and he cooks Josh Peck and a bunch of other people.
When they were cracking jokes, my man's face look at this idiot.
They're like,
Josh Peck just be around
like,
bombs.
You don't know what's going on.
That's how he was randomly in Oppenheimer.
Don't know what's going on. Oh yeah,
Wow.
Josh Peck was on Oppenheimer as well. But I was happy to see Josh Peck, obviously.
Yeah, same.
Big part of my childhood and that. And then also I know, like, even in season 1, I know he used to post videos of like how much he liked the show. So it's nice to see him actually come on for a little cameo. But yeah, that Isaac origin story was ridiculous. It's just because I'm like, surely the guys in the truck can see the people coming. And they're just there.
No, they
were
did.
just standing. I guess they thought that they were trying to hang back.
They were supposed to handle it, and then he told them he would calm down. So they trusted him.
Okay, because I was like,
they expected
even
him to
throughout
die.
the whole thing, when he said, okay, this guy should come, and then the rest still sat down there, I'm like, won't alarm bells start ringing in your head at this point?
I guess
everybody still sat there. They're like,
they're following their commanding officer.
It's a military.
Like, let's see movie.
It's a military. You're following the orders you were given.
Fair. I guess maybe they were looking at us like, maybe this would be a nice movie. 2 of our guys with guns. These guys are not even armed. These guys were, they like. There's a thing in the show, like when somebody is going to die within like 5 minutes, you try and make them the biggest pricks possible so that you have no redeeming qualities before you put them out. So the way they were even talking, there's like, that's why we call them voters and things, because we took just like, these sounds like something terrible is going to happen to these guys. I was like, it's either Isaac does something or like infected come and handle them or something. So when they did that, they're just like, these are people you should never feel sorry for. And he just put the thing and just closed the door.
Terrible way to die, though. Jeez, terrible way to die.
And they told the guys, like, you have a choice to make. Brother, there's no choice. Like, I don't know what kind of illusion of control is that? There's no choice. What's he going to do? Start running? Nothing.
If he's really if he's still green enough to stick that hard to his principles, then yeah, he'll probably try to put up a fight or run, and then he would die. But it turns out that he didn't die, because we see him later in the episode, and we see what he's become under Isaac. And I guess that makes me want to ask you, Ima, what can you tell us about why these people wanted to overthrow Fedra? Like, we understand that people have mixed feelings about Fedra, same way people had mixed feelings about the Fireflies. But we see a little bit of Fedra at the beginning of season 1. And we understand that people see them as an oppressive force, though some people see them as the only thing keeping order. So,
So
what kind of person would see Fedra as oppressive? I mean, clearly they're laughing about taking away people's voting rights, because the world became, or at least the US, as we see it, became a militaristic state where, you have to follow whatever these people say or die. So what kind of world was Isaac trying to escape by going against them?
Yeah, so I think for me, so the game doesn't go too much into like the origin. You hear little bits here and there, but like for me, what I get is more like, in this world, right, there is no checks and balances. So everyone has a vision for what things should be, right? Fedra feel like, look, there needs to be an iron fist ruling things, that, we just make the decisions and we move on. Like, we have to make hard decisions at this point, and, we just keep going. And obviously with doing that, you're going to get people that are going to abuse their power and stuff like that. But then in doing that as well, you're going to get people who are like, I hate this vision, I rise up against it. And like we talked about, like, it's all a cycle. It's kind of also what Isaac was saying to the Seraphite of like, I can't be doing this chicken and egg thing with you, of like, who started this, who started that. It's kind of a similar thing. It doesn't matter anymore. Yeah, exactly. It's kind of a similar thing of like, Fedra like, oh, the world was in chaos, we needed to bring order. And then people are like, oh, you're being oppressive, and then we do this. And so it's like, it's that kind of crazy thing. But I think for Isaac, it just ended up, when you end up in something you don't believe in anymore. It's just like, and that's what that scene, however brief, I think, was trying to show us. Like, he doesn't have things in common with these people.
Yeah.
Their ideologies.
Like, he's listening to who these people are, even the young ones who are going to be leading after he's gone.
Exactly.
And he's like,
just excited
these are your principles? You don't have principles?
Exactly. And they're just excited to be pricks. And it's just like, yeah, nah, these guys aren't it. Because a lot of, like even the title, The Last of Us, like the last of humanity. So what drives a lot of characters that you always meet in this story is like, what is humanity going to be like after me?
Because
like,
from their perspective, they are the last. They don't know what else is out there. I mean, we saw that for season 1, for example, Kathleen's people also overthrew Fedra.
Yeah, exactly. So everybody,
and we saw what that looked like.
Exactly. So everybody's always thinking like, so everybody thinks a lot about legacy. Like, what is this going to be after me? Like, like you talk about how they set up things in Jackson, that's why they're so proud of Jesse. Like, okay, he's going to continue our traditions after us, kind of thing. Everyone's thinking about what's coming next. And Isaac is like, yo, this should not be what's next. Like, I cannot. Like, if I leave the world with these people, no. And, from what we've heard of Isaac as well, like, he gave, and Abby mentioned, he gave them a code after, like, don't go after anyone that can't defend themselves, kind of thing. Fedra, from what we know, don't give a crap whether you're armed, you're not armed, you can defend yourself or not. So I think it's just that kind of, I guess, progression of like, this was really bad. I can kind of see some of the ideas of what they wanted to do, but I think a line should be drawn here. And I think that's where like Isaac, WLF and co are kind of coming from. And they're kind of, so every group we meet kind of picks something up from the other, like the Fireflies as well, all of that. Because, the world needs some sort of order. So yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to just keep seeing like how Ellie and co interact with these people, because it's one thing saying, okay, this is our code, this is what we do. But it's another thing when you deal with like the actual human beings on both sides, like for whatever, I know Isaac has his reasons, but like what he's doing to that guy, on any level, is that the right thing to do?
Yeah.
These are the questions you should be asking, right? Like, okay, like now, he did all of that to that guy, got fuck all information.
Killed him.
Like, what was that all about?
Yeah, he knew that guy was willing to suffer till the end. So it's just like, okay, fine, I'm not going to waste my time here.
So is it like, okay, the next person you're going to torture them of like, okay, where's the next attack? Okay, even if you stop that one, what's the one after? And the guy says very chilling thing of like every day some of your wolves are becoming Seraphites, but none of us are becoming you. And I think that's where Isaac is
That's
like,
a big thing. That's a very big
if
thing
you saw
in
Isaac's
any
face,
conflict.
it hits him.
Yeah,
You can tell that really hits
Yeah.
him because the idea of people defecting,
Yeah.
that tells you that because Isaac, and this is why the performances and the writing are working so well together here. Like, shout out to Mason, shout out to Jeffrey Wright, because Isaac is someone who clearly believing in something matters to him.
Exactly.
Like, he's doing what he does, and he did what he did in the past 11 years ago because his beliefs no longer aligned with what he found himself in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And now he's leading people who he believes also feel what he feels and believe what he believes. But some of them still manage to go over to the Seraphites, which means there's something about what the Seraphites believe in that is stronger, that is bigger than themselves, that is more compelling. And that is scary for anybody who is leading, because ideology is really the biggest part of it. Like, it all starts in the mind. It's the same reason he's trying to torture that guy from the mind first.
And you
Like,
can
he's not
imagine,
able to break that guy's spirit.
And you can imagine, obviously, you're already terrified of that, and then he's disgusted by what the ideology is even. So, the thoughts of that now, you guys are talking about legacy, and the thoughts of that being the legacy that, what's all of this worth? He's come to the WLF only for the Seraphites to take over the world and, to keep expanding. It was such a chilling thought. And like you said, Ebube, excellent performance. You could see it, everything on his face.
Yeah, it's something that I was like, you just have to pick up on, because, as a leader, all you want to do is inspire. A good leader inspires more people to join them. And now you're saying you can't even keep your people on side. You're leaking people.
Yeah.
This is not even counting the people that die and stuff. People are defecting and like, you can't do it for me.
Like, imagine you grow up, you become, the leader that you thought you would be, maybe not even in the way that you expected, though. You're able to get your movie, your cookware set, but you can't hold your men together. Like, it's hard. Like, the guy, like, he was able to go to Williams-Sonoma, but I mean, what was it worth in the end for him? I know they said there's not going to be much of a chicken and egg debate as to how this happened, but I am very curious as to how the conflict between these two factions started.
Same.
I don't know if maybe somebody was just playing around. Maybe someone like those federal guys you saw at the beginning, maybe they were just doing target practice and then they killed some Seraphite children and then that's what started all this. Who knows?
Yeah,
right?
Nobody knows.
Yeah, it's very interesting because the belief that the Seraphites have in their prophet, the WLF takes that so personally. And I wonder why they see that as such a disgusting thing, something that really reviles their spirit. It's the so-called scars who seem so peaceful in episode 3. They clearly attack people. This is the war that they've been talking about, right? And, as we've just said, that naked dude made a very big point that in the end, you're losing what truly constitutes your power here, which is the fact that people believe in you. And, the Seraphites, of course, they're brutal too. The disembowelment is insane.
That scene was, I had to pause. That was a very, very, wow.
Like, at that point, when Dina started throwing up there, I was like, okay, this makes more sense.
Yeah, I hear it. I really hear it. Because it wasn't even a close-up, and you could see, bro, the intestines were dangling, bro. Jesus.
They used blood to write on the wall.
Fam.
I mean, they strung them up. It's insane. Like, when you can actually hear in the background, like, I know most viewers are probably going to be focused on Ellie and Dina trying to escape, but you can hear these soldiers in the background. Like, their commander officer says, oh, but Isaac said take them alive. He's like, bro, I don't care. There's intestines everywhere. Like, this guy
like,
was
look,
tired.
I'm tired.
I had enough. Like, it's on sight. And that was just hilarious to me. I was like, you guys just decide to abandon all commands because he saw, oh my goodness, man, is wild. But honestly, thinking about that whole disembowelment scene and like how they did that, I have to say production design on this show, A1. Like, I mean, even from the music store, right? Like, something tragic yet beautiful to me is the fact that the cable was still plugged into the amp and they took the time to show us that. Like, I saw the
Yeah.
overgrowth and decay on the drums, and I was just like, wow, man. Like, all I could think was these guys who do these sets, just give them all the Emmys. Like, think about what it took to make that store look so believably, dilapidated like that. Like, there's literally, like, you go upstairs, there's a freaking hole in the outside wall. Like, you wonder what did that? Like, did a wrecking ball do that? Like, did the bricks just fall off? Like, it's amazing. And the fact that you can actually see all the guitars and stuff that have, like, molded and everything. And again, Dreadnought in the hard shell guitar case was just doing very well. So, and even going back to the wealth thing a little bit, that guitar is kind of a far cry from the guitar Ellie has at home, which to my estimation, if I'm right, is probably like an Epiphone songmaker, like a DR100. So, like, Ellie doesn't even know that the value of this guitar is greater, but she can clearly feel it. And it's just interesting there to me, because that's also an aspect of design that's reflected in the way the performances are done, the way we see certain things, and the way the writing kind of lays the foundation for that. I found it interesting at first as well that there didn't seem to be a lot of infected in Seattle. Until, of course, there was infected.
Until we really found out. They are really quick.
Yep. Man.
They are so quick.
They are fast and they are relentless.
I kept saying, I was like, I actually want the infected to show up. I'm just like, this is the perfect scene. I'm like, you're already kind of on the ground. And I was like, and what I was saying earlier of like, being able to switch the frets of infected and human frets is great. So I was like, I really want the show to do it. So when I heard the sound, I was like, yes. And then I was like, don't tell me it's just going to be like one random clicker and they'll just shoot it in the head and that's it. So when Dina started counting,
I was going to say, something I really love is when Dina counts how many that there are. By the way, is that a Dina thing? Or is that because it very much feels like
I think that's a talent that she has. Thing.
Yeah,
that's just a Dina because she heard one, she heard another one, and you can see all of them responding. Once it got to 5, she's like, okay, I'm not done counting anymore because 5 is essentially the limit for what we can handle.
But
so there's no point.
Again, shout out to like even the design and the sound design, like. So it's not, sometimes in these shows you just go along with it because it's like, okay, the character said 3 is 3. But you could count along as well because there's the one that
hear them coming closer. That
would have been number 4, but then it's the same voice. So she stops and she's like, and then there's the 4th one that screams and she's like, okay, and then 5. So I was like, it was nice for them to do that. And it's not just like, okay, it could just be one shouting 5 times and you just count 5 or something like that.
You could tell the horror in her face once her fingers ran out, man.
Yep. And it was crazy.
I mean, these scenes with the infected are always so, I guess, frantic. Claustrophobic, for lack of a better term. Like,
is it claustrophobic?
It's so close quarters.
I think it's frantic. But when they go on the train, it was claustrophobic.
And the fact that there's no space, even in episode 2 with Abby, and when she's crawling there, and it's like, these things are literally like cutting their hands through the fence to get to, like, they come so close, like they will do anything to spread.
Speaking of which, there's a Dr. Omar scene here. When they were on the train, all the infected were bashing in. Why was it the nigger? Why was it the nigger that Ellie shot in the head?
Oh my God.
How many times have we even seen a nigger infected? And that was the only one she shot in the head.
I thought about that.
Is it a color thing?
I was like, Chai, my fellow brother.
I hate that we all noticed it.
Is that an underbelly color thing?
To be fair,
there were like
shots in the
5
head.
white ones that were trying to push. My guy was the last one to come and put his head through the window. He was the one that collected it. Is it a color thing?
Oh my God, man.
Because I was like, because at first I was just like, oh, a nigger infected. I was like, okay. At least, bro is still,
the diversity is there.
DEI is still there, And then they just showed me there. I'm like, why? The other ones have been tricking their hand. The other one tried to scratch you. My guy just put his head and you gave it to him
He
like
came
that.
too close.
It's a color thing.
Man,
But
don't kill me.
I'm happy I've shouted it out.
Oh, jeez.
Oh my goodness.
I mean,
but no,
I guess
back
the
to
fact that we
scene
saw the
is-
dormant cordyceps, man, I like that it started that way as well, because we're seeing that Jackson also has that problem. Cordyceps in the pipes that are like calling out to each other. It's creating
Also,
this
sorry,
hive
this
mind
scene-
almost.
did they wake up because the dynamite was next to the cordyceps? I don't
Yeah,
know if you guys
I
saw
think
it.
so. I think
Once that
because it was when it
flare
ran
was sent there, like the cordyceps, it's almost operating like a hive mind in a
Yeah,
sense.
yeah.
It's like it's able to send signals, and that's how these things work. Like cordyceps is such a weird thing, but yeah, I guess it was just always going to end up this way once they entered there. And you know, I guess I should ask: do you guys think Ellie and Dina would have survived if the infected didn't attack? Like, were they essentially just saved by infected?
Well, the train
Because
looked
those
to have
guys
a
would have
lot
caught
of the train looked to have a lot of kind of areas to maneuver, I guess, and I think their survival instincts is quite peak because also they weren't even in the same place that they were in. Because I think they were in
They were on the other side of the train.
Yeah, they
Those
were the
guys
other side of the
hadn't
tunnel.
reached them
Yeah,
yet.
yeah.
But
So
in the end, it didn't matter because infected, they don't care.
really didn't matter. When that lady
Breaking
said,
through
I
glass with
thought
their
they
heads.
said this place was quite. Well, what was the exact line? I can't remember what she said.
Yeah,
I thought this place was supposed to be empty.
Yeah, I thought it was supposed to be
I'm just
empty.
like, brother, what world are you living
I was
in?
like, how do we tell her?
What world are you actually living in that you think, oh, it's empty? Okay. Like, honestly, I'm serious. Like, infected should not be surprising people like this anymore.
No, but I think
if you see a dark cave, go away.
Obviously, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they're only finding out now that there can be dormant ones. That kind of. I don't.
But the thing is that they've always been. They were always able to be dormant because for the infected, they stay around each other, and if they don't see anything to further infect, they just exist.
Fair.
So you don't know where they are. It's always been that way. So for you
Fair.
to walk into a place like this in the dark and then be shocked that you're seeing
I'm
infected,
just like a dark, moist cave, and you're like,
come on,
Let's explore.
Brother,
like literally. Let's be guys. Like, come on. Let's be reasonable here.
If it's like, know what you're signing up for, and the guy's like, oh, what do you call it? And the guy's like, oh, I thought it was empty. Nah, man, I was disappointed when he said that.
I feel like on some level, I can understand any confusion somebody might have in this idea that like, okay, cordyceps would be maybe mostly above ground, and there's the fact that they didn't make any sound, but in truth, they did make a sound.
Yeah,
they threw flares.
I think that's what I'm trying
to
say.
And they were moving around, but at the same time, like Chinedu was saying, they don't know about the dormant stuff that's like literally moving through the fabric of the earth itself.
I feel like they don't know that.
Of course, it will be doing that after 20-something years.
I feel like they don't know that if you literally flick a cordyceps on the ground, that it triggers them. I don't think they know that yet.
Yeah.
Or I don't know if
they don't know that yet, but I mean it's only a matter of time. I feel, and the thing is that most of the scientists are probably dead, unfortunately.
This is the thing, right? I'm not even talking about it from a knowledge point of view. I'm talking about it from an instinct point of view.
Yeah.
Right? You enter a dark, moist cave and you make all the hell noise.
They were cooked from the come on. They were not smart.
Like, even without cordyceps realizing whatever, like, don't you want to keep quiet and like, okay, can I hear anything? They just come, they do whatever, and they're like,
bro, they just threw dynamite in there. Like,
so, what a surprise. An apocalypse with zombies? Who would have expected that?
Yeah, dormant cordyceps is crazy, but I guess one thing that frustrated me a little bit, I suppose, is I mean, on top of my other frustrations with her, is why is Dina always stopping to stare? Like, bro, can you run? You don't want to run. Like, I don't know, that was that was a little fun. That was a little funny, but I guess, to be honest, anybody would be shocked slash dazed. But after a thing like that, I guess it kind of makes sense. Like, for me, it's like it's one thing I thought was the immunity secret was definitely going to come out.
Oh, yeah.
And I guess it's good that it came out at this time.
Yeah.
Because obviously Dina would be very afraid, like she was ready. Can you imagine that from Dina's point of view? Imagine Ellie wasn't immune. It's like, okay, now you have to kill the person who brought you here. How do you now start going back?
Yeah,
You know
how do you even find your way out?
You know
Do you just join WLF?
You know how to
How do you
explain
start
it to
going back
everybody at
pregnant?
Jackson.
It's like, oh, Ellie died, but me, I came back. Oh, and by the way, we didn't kill Abby.
Oh, and by the way, I'm pregnant too. Like, how much news? Just tell everybody to come to town hall because nothing else.
It's absolutely the same,
God.
but I guess nothing makes you feel more
But
alive
we should probably
than
talk
death
about
knocking
that,
on your
yeah.
door. So we see that they seize the day. And I guess this love scene, right, that they have, on some level, it's like, it was a long time coming. And Ellie asks, I guess, the question that's on the mind of many people in the audience, why now? So I suppose it's round 2 of Dina is manipulative. Anybody want to take the question of why now?
Ima's principle now.
Ima's principle of what again?
And we can die tomorrow. She thought they were going to die tomorrow.
Why did she not say it since? She's playing talking stage games, bro.
She's talking about, like, I thought we'd have, a future with a kid. I'm just like, wow, these pictures you're painting, man.
It's like,
you're a very funny person.
When she said we're all gonna have a kid was so funny, man.
So
yeah, and
I had so like this scene was funny for some reason. So when they had the immunity thing, I'm like, okay, this is a different way for Ellie to find out. This is cool. Because at this point in the game, they already, like, Dina knows. And it was nice to see, okay, they've kind of changed it a little bit and stuff. One thing, and yeah, this episode is probably like one of the most game accurate ones, like even down to the name. It's called Day One. And in the game, your first level is Jackson, your second is Seattle Day One, which they actually show in the little corner in the episode as well. So it was good to see that. But like, I had to remind myself that, I was like, Dina actually didn't know. Because for a split second, I was like, the way Ellie just quickly threw her arm there for the thing to bite.
I think in that moment, Ellie kind of may have forgotten that Dina didn't know.
Yeah.
Or maybe she thought like, I will just explain. And maybe it didn't occur to her that somebody who doesn't know would actually be very afraid of you.
Yeah.
Because I was like, is Dina just gonna shoot her in the leg, like, or something, like, after? Like,
she literally had to say, like, do not shoot me, because that would have actually been so bad. It's like,
that would have been so bad. And then, like, she'll come and tell Tommy, and he was like, oh, by the way, she was immune, but we're keeping it a secret. Like, how do you even react at that point?
There's no excuse.
I don't know who they even beat first, Dina or Tommy. Because, like, what kind of secrets?
Oh my God.
But yeah, no, like, that whole thing was crazy. For how they found out in the game is like, it happens basically a lot earlier. So when we found, like, Eugene's thing, I think I mentioned that instead of Jesse, it was actually Dina who was with Ellie when they found, like, Eugene's little weed farm or whatever. So in the game, they smoke, they get high. That's when they review the kiss, not ages after. And then after that, obviously Ellie still says it's a 6 out of 10, and no more is. Let's try that again. And that happens, and kind of like post-nut clarity, they start talking, and it's like, by the way, what's this on your tattoo? And then Ellie basically tells her that she's immune. Dina originally doesn't believe it, but yeah, she later gets to believe it, and that's kind of how it happens. So it happens pretty much upfront. There's no much drama or anything about it. So I think overall, probably, like, this is a better way for TV, because it's a more tense way for it to come out, right? It's kind of like, it's almost like, in TV shows where they're like, someone's keeping a secret, and whenever it's gonna come out, it needs to be worth how long they've kept it, basically. So I like what they did with this. I just kept wondering if, like, even the fact that Dina let Ellie come all the way back with her and let her lock the door before she brought out the gun, I was like, okay, if she actually starts turning now, why didn't you do it since? But I guess maybe it was raining or something. But
Oh, it's
Also,
raining
no, I
and like
think
there are people following them. So at the very least, let's get
I don't
secluded
even
because
think
she
it's
has a
just, I
gun.
think if you love someone like that, you're just not going to just do it
Yeah,
behind
you
their
want to
no,
get
I'm
back.
them
not. I'm
out.
not saying just do it. I'm saying like have the conversation. I just felt like
Okay,
because
okay.
maybe I'm not remembering what the timeline is for turning, but it just feels like
It's supposed to happen very fast.
Is it
Like,
that fast?
I mean,
Me, I
we
was a
saw
bit
like for
surprised. I
example
was a bit surprised.
at the end of season 1 with Ellie's mom, we actually got a chance to see it. So like she gave birth to the baby and everything, and then we could see like her veins and everything. It's the kind of thing that and we also saw like in the beginning of season 1, when people were first getting turned, we saw that old lady, the neighbor.
True,
That
actually.
like so it happens like probably within an hour. You should be kind of like
yeah. So I was like, so at that point I was like, isn't this a risk? But again,
I mean, if it happens, you still have the gun to kind of incapacitate them. So it is what it
I
is
guess
at that
that's
point.
fair. I just felt like it's too big a risk to now wait for her to lock the door before you do whatever. But anyway, I guess it worked out, and all the
My own thing was
tension,
they better.
all the
I was like,
tension had
still
to be
clean the
released.
wound, please. No, genuinely, because like yes, okay, you're not infected with cordyceps, but you don't know where those mouths have been. You don't know there are other dangerous things in the world.
Bro.
I'm so serious. Like, how many years for all you know, you've gotten some other kind of infection.
I guess if you're immune to cordyceps, is it small
tetanus?
Tetanus.
I guess so. But having said that, though, like the fact that they made progress in this episode is good to me. Like that's like a nice testament to the writing, because they did in fact accomplish something. Like they were able to get a radio in all the chaos, so now they can track the movements of the WLF. They got a lead on Nora. They're able to actually talk like, okay, it's different now. You're pregnant. How are we going to do this? Is this still something you want to be a part of? And she says, yes, let's go together, which I really hope is not death flags. But, at the same time, the story can only move forward. And I like that this story is, in fact, moving forward. Yeah, I wonder what the people back in Jackson will say when they realize Dina is pregnant. Like, did Dina tell Jesse about this? Well, clearly not, because Dina just found out that she's pregnant. So she wouldn't have been able to tell Jesse.
So two things there. First of all, you said, is it a death flag? There's actually death flags flying all about. Like they finally have their love scene, they confess their feelings. No, now that you said that, I'm thinking about it. I'm just like, confess their feelings, and it's like together. And then on the thing, Ellie's like, oh, I'm gonna be a dad. It's like, it's Jesse a tuber of yam. Like
a tuber of yam is insane. But yeah, it was interesting to me that Ellie kind of already gave herself the dad role.
Exactly.
It kind of says a lot about how she sees herself and how she sees Dina. And I guess it's another kind of visual and auditory cue as to how Ellie is more Joel than anybody could have seen. And it makes sense, right? This is the person that essentially, stewarded her through her most formative times and like when she came of age. Yeah. So yeah, that was actually a very funny moment. It's like, yeah, we're all gonna have a baby.
Just like, and then she was like, oh, Jesse. So I'm just like, okay, so in your world, Jesse's the uncle, but like, I'm just like,
he's the donor.
Fair, but you're keeping him involved. But yeah, the way Dina talked about Jesse's, it was a bit like, oh, he's a nice guy, but he wasn't, the one. It's like, hey, God, poor guy. Poor guy. But yeah, no, like, yeah, it was, I guess, the writing and stuff worked to get to that emotional crescendo and kind of thing as well. Like, for one day, they had a very crazy day. Like, and that was one thing that always stood out to me from the game, because, when they say Seattle day one, when it finishes, you're like, yo, that was actually
it's
one
like, yo,
day.
that was just one day, essentially. And like they wake up, like the end of the episode is the start of day 2, essentially. So I'm looking forward to seeing how they do that. Because, I mean, even the way that whole thing ended, like they actually start to get intimate when she says, I'm pregnant. And it's like, that's suddenly a trigger that like, yo, we need to actually like live in the moment. We could be dead tomorrow. Which I suppose my response to that is, you didn't have to come. But I respect it.
But
I respect it.
Did she know before?
She didn't know. She found out she was just
Found
like,
out on
okay,
the
why
way,
am I
right?
so sick? Why am I squeamish? But then the pregnancy test essentially, all
that's
4
what I'm
or
saying,
5
'cause
of
she
them
didn't-
confirmed it.
I don't think she did that before they left. Because I was like, there's no
Yeah.
how they have 4 pregnancy tests like that just in
No, she
Jackson.
found them in the pharmacy that they got to at the beginning of the episode.
Okay, so she was like, what's it called? She only confirmed it whilst they were out. Because I was like, yeah, if she knew before she left, then that's highly irresponsible. But yeah.
I just want to be clear, so I know some of our listeners might be worried. When Iman was talking about death flags, he wasn't using game knowledge. He was just saying like the writing is showing that like,
Yeah, please.
because we know how sometimes, yes, he wasn't saying that somebody's going to die based on game knowledge. I'm going to ask you guys a question, but then based on how you guys have spoken, great episode by the way. I was just here, dying behind the screen. But based on how you guys have spoken, I'm a bit worried that you're not the same wavelength as me. Because I was going to ask you guys, if you guys are going on your own revenge mission, quick fire answer, you can let me know. At what point are you like, you know what, let's just pack the bag and go back home? Is it when you see a group of people murdered just on the path? Is it when you see some wolves that are not people you're looking for hanging from the ceiling with their intestines coming out? Is it when a mob of infected attack you underground? Or is it when you finally come outside in the morning and then you see that there's a literal war going outside with explosions? Like, at what point you're like, maybe we're in over our heads?
Oh my God.
Quick fire,
That's-
right?
that's
Who's
actually
going
a great
first? Who's
question.
going first? Quick fire.
That's at which point you give up, not like.
Yeah, at which point you're like, let's just go back to Jackson. Like,
But I think
Joe
they feel
understand.
like they can't.
Joe would
I feel like
understand.
Ellie feels like she has nothing to lose. That's the only thing, right?
Yeah, Ellie's world has been
And
shattered.
now that you said that, it made me think of like, I guess it kind of mirrors what Abby and Co did, where they came to Jackson as like, how the fuck are we going to kill this guy? You know, like what the hell
and
is
then
going
he just
on? Like
falls
this
into
is
their
not
lap.
what we expect. Yeah, so maybe Ellie's like the god of Abby is here for me too. Like,
Oh my God.
for me, personally, my own answer is when I walk into a building and I see people hanging and
Hey,
their
man,
intestines are
look,
falling out, I'm
yeah,
going back home.
that was a
Okay,
gory
so-
scene. I'm not even joking. I had to pause. Like, that was the only time I paused the episode. I didn't pause it like during the whole infected stuff.
That was
I had to
insane.
pause it then.
It was insane. And I kind of agree with you there. For me, that probably would have been the point where I started thinking about it. But I know I'm not trying to go back in the dark. So honestly,
Oh no, yeah,
it would probably have been, that
yeah.
would have been the point where I'd be like, okay, maybe there's stuff going on here that we
just don't know
we just don't know about.
We got
Because
to
Ellie's
somebody
even like,
else's war,
oh, it's the people in the woods where we found that did this. Because you can see the bows and arrows. Like, I'm seeing arrows. Like you're walking in, you're seeing arrows in people's chests. You're seeing blood on the walls. You're seeing people hanging. It's just like, okay, you know what? Let's just go back.
when you even think about it, like the journey to
Oh my
even
God.
get here on horseback.
Horseback. Is the horse even still alive? Are you sure infected didn't eat the horse?
Oh,
No,
my
let's be
goodness.
real.
I think
Shimmer is
To be fair, they're not infected where Shima is though. Because I remember that
Amen.
area is clear.
Amen. Because we know how they move, we know how they spread. Because for me, I guess the final point would have been the morning when I came out. So like there's like the building's on fire, like people are bombing. Like
Yeah,
okay, that's the
Brandon,
point where
this
I'm
is
like,
not-
okay, let's find Shimmer and just go. Maybe we come back
This is
with
not
backup.
one
Like-
guerrilla warfare.
like-
This is like a
Yeah.
real war.
It's-
What are we doing?
Yeah.
I
Let's just come back
think-
with backup, maybe.
Yeah, no, like it's actually crazy. Like for me, I won't even lie. Like when they said the fact that the only two of them with a fucking backpack or whatever they have between them are trying to run this mission. Nah, I'm sorry.
And
You
at
have
what
to
point did they
travel
run out
light
of
now.
supplies?
You have to travel light.
They thought the wolves were small.
Yeah.
Because based on what Eugene said, they thought wolves was like a smaller group.
Yeah.
But when you realize that, I remember episode 3, I'm sorry, when the tank, I started laughing when the tank came up in episode 3.
Mhm.
I was
Yeah.
like, oh, these guys don't know what they're in for.
No,
but
literally,
like, this-
you're literally in over their heads. Like I thought the exact same thing because
But
it's like, okay, oh man,
But what's
Humanity
crazy
is
to me
humanity
like,
is insane though. You still have time for war whilst all of this is going
no
on.
more now.
Like
you could be
But
using the
I
tanks
think-
to
I think
destroy
what's
infected.
crazy is
though.
that like
it's
just
this
like-
is what you're supposed to be using.
you exactly they're not even using it.
You're
as
using it to
infected.
blow up yourselves.
Oh my goodness.
But like,
Yeah,
yeah,
like,
it's just mad because like when you think about it, how many are in Abby's crew? 6, 8?
Yeah, about
And
6, yeah.
4.
So Ellie and Dina are like 2 and 8. We've got
They're
so-
5. They're 5.
5. Just 5.
I think it's 5.
5, yeah.
So you're like,
Five.
2 on 5.
2 guys and 3 girls.
Oh, 2 on 5. You know, we've got this. This is fine.
Yeah, they're
But
fine.
like,
Yeah.
2 on 5 was already crazy.
But that whole thing was even annoying to me because it's like, why are you just assuming they're the only ones?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
what-
like
who-
so
who
5
assumes
people,
that?
5 people created logo.
I think they knew that the wolves were more, but they just thought like if it's like 30 people, we can infiltrate.
But
They're
like,
not trying
I'm
to
saying, why would
do
you
war.
even imagine it's 30 people? Like, you come to Jackson,
I
like, is
think the way
Jackson 30
Eugene-
people? Why do you
I think it's the way Eugene described.
fair enough,
Well,
I
there's
guess.
a reason. There might be a reason Eugene is in the ground.
Oh my God.
Maybe
Nah,
Maybe
because
don't trust the dead man's knowledge. I'm
there's
just
this whole
saying.
thing about optimism in the episode too, because like, for one thing, like there's the glorious irony of them not knowing what the rainbow
Oh,
flags
gosh.
everywhere mean in Seattle.
Yeah, that was nice. I
There's
like
just
that.
this sick
Yeah.
irony of that is just too funny because look who's asking this question, and then it's like
Yeah, that
she
was
says
nice.
maybe they were all optimists, and I'm like, oh honey, if only. It's not optimists. There are tanks here waiting to blow your head off. Like,
Oh my God.
But yeah, just find out. I want to shout out Kate Heron, who directed episode 4.
Oh, I had that on my
Yes.
list, actually.
They directed Lucky season 1.
Yep.
British woman. So yeah.
episode 3 was
that
directed
was
by
just my
Peter
main-
Horror, which
Peter Hall, yeah.
did
He did season
both very well
season. I think he did did he do Bill and Frank?
I think so.
He did an episode in season 1, at least one episode in
I have
season
to,
1.
I have
so
to,
can't remember
I have
which
to
one it was.
confirm, but like, yeah, like
Well, that's my job, to be fair.
It's just so nice. Like you see all these different creative visions, these creative expressions, and they're working so well to actually serve the narrative as a whole. Like these 2 episodes really do feel like one big episode when viewed together. Like it's actually quite nice.
Mhm.
I'm curious to see how they'll do
Mhm.
the rest of the season.
How many episodes do we have again this season?
7. So we're just over
Oh,
half.
okay. So we're over half now. Okay.
Yeah, Peter Hall directed Bill and Frank in season 1.
Nice.
Yeah. And then Neil Druckmann is directing the penultimate of this season.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's banger. Anyway, yeah, guys, cool, fun episode. Well done.
Yeah. And
Thank
with
you,
that, I
thank you.
guess we should go ahead and call it here. Thanks so much, everyone, for listening up until this point. We've had a lot of fun discussing these 2 episodes, and we're really looking forward to episode 5, where hopefully there will be some very fun surprises. I'm personally kind of scared for Ellie. No, I'm scared for Dina. I'm scared for the future of Jackson, apparently, because that's what they're carrying with them into this fight. And it's interesting to me that we haven't actually had any sign of really seeing Abby yet. I'm wondering when that interaction will happen, if it does happen at all. But you know, it's good that episode 4 reminded us that Infected is still here. So I suppose we have threats enough to go around. So buckle up for stress, and we'll see you next week.